There's a secret not spoken in most spiritual circles. A truth so raw, so potent, that it has been hidden under centuries of love and light conditioning. We were trained to believe that enlightenment means purity, that awakening means erasing the dark, that to be chosen is to be angelic. But what if I told you the real chosen ones, the most powerful beings walking this earth, are the ones who carry both light and darkness inside them and do not run from either? I'm not talking about people who dabble in shadow work or those who occasionally feel sadness and call it depth. I'm talking about those rare souls who are born to hold the duality of heaven and hell in their chest. We call them the dual chosen ones. There are only a few. You might be one of them, and if you are, your entire life has likely felt like a contradiction you couldn't explain. Because from a very early age we feel the split inside us. One part of us sees visions, feels energies, knows truth without proof. We dream of healing the world, we cry for strangers, we can't ignore suffering. That's our light. But right beside that light is a force just as strong, something ancient, something chaotic, something primal. It rages when confronted with lies. It despises control. It sees through masks and wants to tear them off. That's our darkness. And for those of us who carry both, the internal war can be unbearable, until we learn that it was never meant to be a war at all. You see, the dual chosen ones aren't broken. We're not confused. We're not in conflict. We are whole in a way most people will never understand. Because we were sent here to be bridges between the realms. The light in us shows us what's possible. The darkness in us gives us the fire to destroy what's false. We are not here to be saints. We are here to be truth incarnate. And truth is not always gentle. Have you ever noticed that you can walk into a space and people either gravitate toward you or flinch away? That your presence feels like both a blessing and a disruption? That's not accidental. Your vibration is high, but it's also deep. It doesn't just comfort people, it confronts them. And that's the first sign you may be one of the 7 dual chosen ones. Your energy doesn't just heal, it awakens. And awakening is rarely pleasant. You might have been told you're too intense, too emotional, too driven, too quiet, too much. But what if your too much was never a flaw? What if it was your design? Because here's the truth. The dual chosen ones come encoded with sacred contradiction. We are the storm and the eye of it. We are the destroyer and the healer. We are the mirror and the fire. And that's why we can't live a normal life. We don't just experience emotions, we embody them. We don't just see injustice, we feel compelled to dismantle it, even when it costs us everything. We aren't satisfied with shallow relationships or surface-level jobs. We crave depth, intensity, transformation. And if we don't get it, we start to decay. That's not drama. That's the soul's refusal to accept a life that doesn't match its mission. But here's where it gets even deeper. The dual chosen ones are often initiated through suffering. If you are one, you've probably endured darkness that would have broken others. Abuse, betrayal, abandonment, isolation. Not because you were cursed, but because you were being forged. The universe doesn't give dual power to those who haven't tasted both extremes. We had to walk through the underworld so we could carry its wisdom without being consumed by it. We had to touch madness so we could later guide others out of it. And we had to lose everything false so we could remember what's real.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
This is why many of us feel like outsiders. We're not here to assimilate, we're here to alchemize. And in a world addicted to binaries, good vs bad, light vs dark, right vs wrong, our wholeness is threatening. Because we don't choose a side. We are the middle path, the path that says, I will hold your wounds and your glory. I will sit with your demons and bow to your divinity. I will not reject any part of you because I have learned not to reject any part of myself. But let me ask you something now, something only your soul can answer. What if the parts of you you've been hiding, your anger, your sadness, your madness, are not your obstacles, but your sacred tools? What if they were never meant to be healed away but wielded with awareness? What if the key to your power is not found in becoming more light but in integrating the dark you were taught to fear? This is the path of the dual chosen one. We don't seek perfection. We seek authenticity. We don't pretend to be enlightened. We bring light into the places no one else dares to look. And that makes us dangerous to systems built on fear. It makes us magnetic to those who are ready to awaken. And it makes us essential to this time in history. In the next part, we'll dive into the exact traits, tests, and sacred tasks that define these rare beings. We'll explore how to not only identify if you are one, but how to activate your full power without losing yourself in the process. This is not about self-help. This is about soul remembering. Because once you know who you are, nothing can stop you. If you've made it this far, something inside you has already begun to stir. Not the part of you pretending to be healed, but the part that remembers the fire. The part that has always known you are not like the rest. You felt it when you walk into rooms and feel energy shift before a word is spoken. You've seen it when people either open their hearts or hide their shadows in your presence. You've experienced it when you've tried to live a normal life, only to feel like a lion in a cage made of invisible rules. These are not coincidences. They are signs. And now we must look deeper into the 7 flames that burn within every dual chosen one. Each flame is a trait, a trigger, and a divine contract you made long before you were born. The first flame is the flame of truth. You cannot lie to yourself even when you try. It physically hurts to be fake. You've probably walked away from relationships, jobs, even entire belief systems the moment they started to feel out of alignment. This flame makes you allergic to deception, especially your own. But it also makes you a mirror to others. You reflect their truth back to them, even when they're not ready. That's why people often say, "You're intense," or "You're too honest." But what they really mean is, "You see me in ways I can't hide from." The second flame is the flame of shadow. Unlike others on the so-called spiritual path, you don't fear the dark. You've danced in it. You've broken in it. You've rebuilt yourself in it. And now you carry it like a sword. This doesn't mean you're negative, it means you're real. You know that healing isn't always pretty, that love isn't always soft, and that sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is set boundaries so sharp they cut through lifetimes of karma. You don't avoid the shadow you integrated. That's why your presence activates people. You don't just bring light, you bring transformation. The third flame is the flame of service, but it's not the kind you've been taught. You're not here to be a people pleaser. You're here to be a soul liberator. That means sometimes your service looks like holding someone through their pain, and other times it looks like walking away so they can face their own. You've been through so much that compassion has become your default, but you've also learned that enabling isn't love. You serve by being who you are, not by sacrificing who you are. Your life is your message. The fourth flame is the flame of isolation, and it's one of your soul's hardest teachers. Dual chosen ones often walk alone, not because they aren't loved, but because few can walk at their depth. You've probably felt like an alien in your own family, the black sheep in every group, the one who just doesn't fit. But this solitude isn't punishment, it's preparation. It's in your isolation that your gifts sharpen, your channel opens, your truth gets loud. And when you re-emerge, you don't come back the same, you come back as a force of nature. The fifth flame is the flame of fire, your rage, your passion, your refusal to stay silent. This flame scares people. It might have scared you, because when it's not understood, it can burn everything down. But when it's mastered, it becomes the fuel for revolution. You are not here to be passive. You are not here to nod politely while the world burns. When injustice happens, you feel it in your bones. You speak when others are silent. You fight when others freeze. Your fire is not your flaw, it's your birthright. The sixth flame is the flame of vision. You see what others can't. You don't just dream, you remember. You've had flashes, downloads, prophetic dreams. You've known things before they happened. You don't always know how you just do. And when you trust that vision, miracles follow. But if you ignore it, your life becomes static, heavy, misaligned. You are not meant to follow maps, you are meant to make them. This is why traditional paths rarely work for you. Your soul is wired for the unknown. And finally, the seventh flame is the flame of the sacred rebel. You were never meant to obey blindly. Rules that don't make sense collapse under your gaze. Hierarchies, systems, dogmas, they don't impress you. They trigger your soul to rise. You are not here to fit into the old world. You are here to rebuild it from the inside out. You question everything. And in doing so, you become the embodiment of possibility. Now, let me ask you a question only you can answer. Have you been trying to get rid of the very flames that make you divine? Because that's what the world teaches us to soften, to behave, to shrink. But you weren't born to be digestible. You were born to be unforgettable. In the next part, we will enter the sacred trials every jewel chosen one must face, the awakenings, betrayals, initiations, and soul forgings that break us open and reveal who we were always meant to be. There is a reason the path of the dual chosen one is not crowded. It is not glamorous. It is not safe. It is not filled with applause, and it rarely comes with a manual. Instead, it is carved through fire, through pain, so precise, so personal, that it almost feels like the universe has singled you out. But here's the truth most people never understand. The universe has singled you out, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because those who carry both light and darkness must be refined by sacred heat. And that heat comes in the form of trials. Trials that will break your ego, shatter your illusions, and melt away every part of you that was never real. If this is your path, then you already know what I'm talking about. You've faced betrayals that felt like death. You've watched people you loved disappear, lie, or turn cold. You've had moments where the pain in your body and soul was so heavy you thought you wouldn't survive the night. And still, somehow, you did. That is not weakness. That is divinity in motion. Because the dual chosen ones are not just survivors. We are alchemists. We don't just endure the fire. We let it burn away the false. And what remains is something unbreakable. One of the first sacred trials is the trial of isolation. This is when everything familiar begins to fall away: friends, family, identity, even purpose. You lose the taste for things you once loved. You can't relate to the conversations around you. You start to feel like a ghost in your own life. This is not a coincidence. It's not depression. It's initiation. The universe is thinning the veil between you and your soul. And in that silence, you can finally hear what's always been waiting. Your original frequency. The one that existed before trauma, before programming, before fear. But to hear it, you must be willing to lose what was never really yours. Then comes the trial of shadow confrontation. It's not enough to be spiritual. The dual chosen ones must face their own monsters. Not banish them, integrate them. This is where your deepest wounds rise: abandonment, unworthiness, rage, shame. You will be tempted to blame others, to spiral, to numb. But the real test is to feel it all and stay present. Because your shadows are not your enemy. They are your teachers. They hold the codes to your power. And when you stop running from them, they become allies instead of saboteurs. This is how you become whole, not by being perfect, but by being radically honest. Another unavoidable trial is the trial of the great mirror. This is when life reflects back every part of you that is still fragmented. Toxic relationships that mirror your deepest fears. Losses that expose your attachments. Opportunities that ask you to either betray yourself or rise into your truth. Everything becomes a mirror, and there is nowhere to hide. This stage is brutal. because it forces you to take full responsibility for your frequency. But once you do, you begin to understand a secret. Reality isn't happening to you. It's responding to you. You are the code and the coder, the dream and the dreamer. The final and most misunderstood trial is the trial of the sacred choice. After all the pain, after all the awakenings, after all the revelations, there comes a moment when you must choose. Will you step fully into your power, knowing you will never again fit into the world as it is? Or will you shrink back into safety, pretending you didn't see what you saw, feel what you felt, know what you know? This choice is not easy. It often comes with no support, no roadmap, and no guarantee. But this is the moment that separates the awakened from the activated, because once you choose to live as your full self, there is no going back. So I ask you now, what have you been calling bad luck that may actually be your soul's initiation? What if the breakdown wasn't your failure, but your rebirth? What if the people who left were never meant to walk with you on this part of the path? And what if your pain has been carving out space for a power you haven't even begun to tap into yet? The sacred trials are not punishments. They are purifications. They are the soul's way of making sure that when your time comes to lead, to teach, to heal, to create, you are doing it from the deepest, most authentic place possible. Because we don't need more perfect people. We need more real ones. People who have walked through the fire and come out clear. People who don't just speak light, but carry the weight of their own shadows with grace. People who have nothing left to prove because they have already died and been reborn in silence. You are not broken. You are becoming. And the fire that tried to destroy you will be the very flame that illuminates your path. In the next and final part, we will explore what happens after the trials, how dual chosen ones step into their full expression, manifest new realities, and change the world just by being who they are. You'll learn how to embody your power without burning out, how to anchor your energy in a chaotic world, and how to live as both the light and the dark without apology. So here you are, still standing after the fire, still breathing despite the weight. You've walked through isolation, faced your shadows, lost identities, relationships, illusions. And now something new is stirring in you, not just survival, not just awareness, but a bold, undeniable readiness. The readiness to live as the whole being you truly are. The readiness to stop editing your light to comfort others. The readiness to stop hiding your darkness so you can appear healed. The readiness to stop waiting for permission to be who you've always known yourself to be. This is where the new blueprint begins, not in theory, but in embodiment. Living as a dual chosen one in a world still terrified of its own depth is not a gentle task. It takes courage to walk into rooms where your energy is the loudest thing, even when you say nothing. It takes strength to refuse participation in systems that reward conformity and punishment for authenticity. And yet, you are not here to blend in. You are here to anchor a new frequency, one that doesn't divide light from dark, but weaves them into something transcendental, something true. To live as a whole being means you no longer need to explain your existence. You stop justifying your intensity, your stillness, your rage, your joy, your solitude. You move as you are. You speak only when it's real. You stop performing, start transmitting, because you've realized that presence is your power. And the more you embody your frequency, the more reality bends to match it. But embodiment isn't passive. It's a daily devotion. It's choosing alignment over approval. It's saying no when everything in your past says play nice. It's trusting the unseen, trusting your timing, trusting that your energy knows the way even when your mind panics. The world will try to pull you back into old patterns. It will tempt you with shallow comfort in exchange for deep truth. But you've already tasted what it means to live half-a-live, and you can't go back. Here's what changes when you live as a whole being. You stop craving purpose and become purpose. Your life becomes medicine for others, whether you're speaking, creating, or just breathing in alignment. You stop chasing love and attract resonance. You stop begging for understanding and magnetize those who speak your soul's language. You stop trying to save the world and start transforming it by existing as the version of you that no longer needs saving. You become a living blueprint for what's possible when a human being chooses wholeness over performance. And make no mistake, others will feel it. Your energy will either liberate or trigger them. Not because you're doing anything, but because you are something. Your presence becomes a mirror, a catalyst, a lighthouse. And the more you stay true to who you are, the more you give silent permission for others to remember who they are. But let me ask you something you may have never dared to consider. What would your life look like if you stopped hiding your power? Not just the light that comforts, but the sharpness that cuts through illusion. What if you let yourself be fully seen, not as perfect, but as real? What if your very existence could shift timelines simply by being undiluted? Because here's the deepest truth. The world doesn't need more lightworkers who are afraid of their shadow. It needs whole beings who embody both the storm and the stillness. It needs dual chosen ones who aren't trying to be good but who are willing to be true. It needs you, not as a version someone else can understand, but as the full, unfiltered, uncontainable you. So live like your soul remembers. Speak like the universe is listening. Love like your energy heals. And walk like your ancestors are watching, because they are. You are the convergence of light and dark, carrying a frequency that cannot be replicated. You are the prophecy and the proof. You are not here to be accepted. You are here to be remembered. And now, the world is finally ready for you.